Okay, everyone. This is going to be a bit of change of pace. We're quite a different company than what you've just heard in most of the presentations. We're not looking at mining operations. We're an explorer. The company does generative exploration. We're based mostly in Yukon Territory in Canada. We're listed on the Toronto Venture Exchange. There's a presentation here which you're welcome to read along with, but I'm going to break away from it a bit because I think there's some things that need to be pointed out that really aren't adequately explained by the slides. So there's a forward-looking statement. Take a good look because you're going to hear lots of forward statements. Okay, this is where I'm going to start to take off from the presentation. It's, lots of good points, lots of good reasons to invest, but the main thing is about risk reward. We've got a wonderful jurisdiction that we're exploring in. It's right in the heart of one of the great gold belts in the world. The Northern Karelian Gold Province incorporates the Golden Triangle in northern British Columbia and extends into Yukon and Alaska with the Tintina Gold Belt. Collectively, that area represents about 1% of the world's landmass, but it contains more than 10% of the gold resources. That's an astounding figure, and it, I think it really explains why we're there. In addition to gold, Yukon is overly endowed in silver, lead, zinc, and it's a great place to look for copper. And ironically, it's also a pretty good place to look for technology metals. As an explorer, we've taken the opportunity to look for all of those things. So we're not focused on a single property. We're not focused on a single commodity. We're looking for everything. We really broadened our focus. We've got about 90 million shares outstanding. That number has hardly changed in the last 10 years. Because we're generative, we've been able to sell projects and option projects at the right time and generate cash for the company that allows us to continue our operations without dilution. That's a pretty unusual business model. Right now, our market cap is about $26 million, maybe 27, fluctuates daily with the share price, obviously. But that's backed by about $23 to $24 million worth of cash and shares in other companies. In the next month or so, there's going to be a deal closed that'll give us another 7 million shares of a brand new vanadium explorer. At that point, if our market cap doesn't go up, we'll have almost 100% of the value of our stock backed by cash and shares in other companies. What that doesn't allow for is 130 exploration projects, which we've invested several $1 million in over the last 15 years. Most of those projects have got several years of assessment on them. They have no holding costs. We're good for a long, long time. And a lot of them in the last few years have progressed from being early stage exploration targets to drill ready. So let's look at risk and reward. We've got very little downside. We're almost 100% backed in cash and shares, and we've got a tremendous asset base that's good for a long period of time. On the reward side, okay, you're all investors. You all know the Lassonde curve. Basically, there's two places in the Lassonde curve where you make money. Early stage discoveries and as you go to production. We've seen a lot of presentations about people who are working their way through resource definition, through feasibility studies, through permitting. That's great, but guess what, guys? That's a long, ugly grind. It's dead money for several years and requires a lot of dilution. I've got no interest in developing a mine. If we make a really good discovery, I'm going to farm these things out to somebody who's got a lot better mining team than I do. I've got a great exploration team. That's what we do well, and that's what we tend to exploit. So, our exit strategy is to get the projects to the point where they're ready to drill, maybe put a few holes into the best of them to get the discovery premium that comes with drilling, but not to fall in love with them and not to hold on and get into that bad downturn that everybody has to suffer through. Okay, so how do we, there's lots of exploration companies. What sets us apart? Most companies have got one property, maybe two. They've got no money. We've got money, we've got lots of property. Again, it's risk management. Okay, So what we're going to look at now is a couple of the projects to give you an idea of why I think we've got a reasonably good chance of making a new discovery this year. The Dawson Range is one of the areas in western Yukon that's part of the Tintina Gold Belt. Within the Dawson Range, there's a number of very important discoveries. The Casino Porphyry contains about 8 to 9 million ounces of gold. Coffee has somewhere between, somewhere around 4 million, let's call it, ounces of gold. There's a number of other advancing projects that are in the 1 to 2 million ounce range. We've got 6 really good targets in that belt. I'm going to show you a little bit of information on 2 of them. One is the Molloy property down the southern corner. The other one is up at toward the northern end, the 60-mile property. Okay, Molloy. Just for reference, in the top corner, you can see a geochem map for the Casino property. And shown in black is the outline of the deposit. That's 1 billion tons containing over 8 million ounces of gold and over 4 billion pounds of copper. And that's its geochemical signature. The main slide, at the same scale and the same contouring, is the copper geochem at the Molloy property. This year, we're going to put 2 holes right down the throat of that thing to see what it's about. We've had offers for majors to drill it, but why would I give away all the blue sky for essentially the same program that I can afford to do myself? So we're going to drill it. We're going to see what we get. Is it a mine? I don't know. The drilling will tell the story, but it's a hell of a good target. Okay, the other major belt in the Yukon is the Tombstone Gold Belt. There's a number of producers on an offset of that belt in Alaska, most notably the Fairbanks Gold Deposit. In Yukon, we got Victoria Gold developed in the Eagle Deposit. The Keno Hill Silver Camp is part of that district. The former Brewery Creek Mine is. There's 2 projects there that I'd like to point out. One is Sawbuck, and the other is Mount Hinton. Mount Hinton is directly adjacent to the Keno Hill Silver Camp. It's got some of the strongest gold geochem in all of Yukon. It's had virtually no drilling, and in the past year, we were able to outline a much, much stronger area of soil geochemistry in the southeastern part of our property than was ever seen before. There's over 74 known veins on it that are gold rich, typically greater than an ounce per ton. The new area, though, looks like it's sitting on top of a mag low, which would suggest there's potential there for bulk tonnage. That is also an area where there's very, very impressive placer gold being found, very angular, large nuggets, ironically under glacial till. In other words, it's coming out of residual soil, not an old river channel. Sawbuck is probably the strongest silver anomaly I've ever seen, and I'll throw it up against things from Mexico. We sent a crew in there to follow up a VTEM anomaly. It produced fantastic numbers. The highest soil on that one is over 600 grams per ton in soil. The guys went in to follow it up, found some outcrops with crackled breccia, sampled it, got 3 or 4 ounces per ton. Kind of interesting. But more interesting is there's a recessive zone right uphill from the crackled breccia that's almost pure limonite, and samples from that were over 100 ounces per ton and up around 0.5% antimony. So it's a very, very rich target that will be trenching and probably drilling later this year. Okay, other things on this that we've got down in southern Yukon, we've got an area that we're going to be drilling. It's called the Heartless Show property. In there, we've got 2 styles of mineralization. We've got gold veins. They're in vertical structures, a very complex fault array. And we've got subhorizontal zones that are associated with either rhyolite sills or flows within an overall volcanic stratigraphy. Both targets are very prospective. They're producing greater than ounce per ton assays from the float samples. We need to drill it to see confirm that those sources are correct. Combined length of the fault zones is in the several kilometer range. The area of volcanic stratigraphy, this perspective, is tens of kilometers, and there's stacked horizons within it. So again, very, very large potential for a camp scale discovery. of very high-grade mineralization. Okay, in addition, I mentioned that we have a lot of shares in other companies. So we've got one of the most noteworthy is 40% of Rockhaven Resources. Rockhaven's developing a very interesting epithermal silver gold deposit in central Yukon. Right now they've got about 1.8 million ounces of gold equivalent, but it's wide open, both along strike and to depth. We're very ecstatic with that investment. We've gradually made it over the last 5-6 years, and we think the company's got a very bright future. A number of the other projects give us exposure to other jurisdictions. Precipitate is working in the Dominican Republic, right next to one of the largest gold mines in the world. We got 20-some% of them. The other projects, again, we've got exposure to Nevada and Northwest Territories through our holdings in Silver Range. It's a diverse portfolio that I think, as metal prices improve, that we'll do very well on. Okay, I'm just going to wrap it up here very quickly. It just shows that when the market peaks, we're able to ride that like a horse. And if we're right about gold market improving, I think we're very well positioned to take advantage, especially if we're able to make some drill discoveries this year. And that just shows that we're constantly moving our properties around. We've got 130 now. We've added 34 in the last few years, and we've got rid of about 60. So we're always culling it. We're always improving our holdings. Finally, on that slide, I'd just like to point out one thing, and that's that we've really made an effort to work with the First Nation in the territory and the government. It's a great jurisdiction. The First Nations, we have land claims. They're becoming very proactive about being involved in development. Government is very supportive of exploration and mining, and I think that it's one of the best places in the world to be. So if you have any questions, you can go on the website, you can talk to me. I'm in booth D2. There's actually some brochures at the back if anyone would like to take a look at it. Thank you very much.